Puss in Boots. Once upon a time, there lived a miller with his 3 sons. When the miller passed away, his eldest son inherited his mill. His second son got his donkey, and the youngest son got the miller's pet cat, called Puss. The youngest son of the miller was upset. He said to Puss,
"Oh, poor cat. I don't have anything to feed you."
Suddenly, Puss stood on 2 legs and replied,
"Don't worry, sir. I will bring you food every day."
The young man could not believe his ears. He said,
"Puss, you can talk?"
"Oh, I can do a lot more, sir. Just buy me some boots, a hat, and a large sack, and I'll show you what I can do."
The miller's son spent all his money to buy a hat, a pair of boots, and a sack. Puss happily put the hat and the boots on. Then he put some vegetables in his sack and went to a forest to hunt for rabbits. Puss laid the vegetables on the ground. Then he hid behind a bush and waited for a rabbit to come along. As a rabbit came to eat the vegetables, Puss quickly jumped out from behind the bush and trapped the rabbit in the sack.
"Got you!"
Then Puss took the rabbit to the king's castle.
"Your Majesty, my name is Puss, and I present you this rabbit from my lord, the Prince of Carabas."
Oh, a talking cat. And a cat with boots. It's a wonderful gift, and I gladly accept it.
"Thank you, Your Majesty."
Over the next few weeks, Puss kept hunting and presenting rabbits to the king. And soon after, everybody in the kingdom began to talk about Puss in Boots and his lord, the Prince of Carabas. One day, the king and his daughter decided to visit the riverside. Puss ran to his owner and said,
"Sir, go and swim in the river. If anyone asks you your name, say that you are the Prince of Carabas."
The miller's son agreed. As he removed his clothes and entered the river, Puss picked up his clothes and hid them. Then Puss waited for the king's carriage to arrive. When the king's carriage was passing by, Puss began to shout, "Your Majesty, my lord was swimming in the river when someone stole his clothes. Help him, or he will drown in the river." The king immediately asked his soldiers to save the Prince of Carabas. The soldiers rushed to the river and pulled him out of the water.
Please change to disc 2 and turn to image number 9.
The king ordered his men to ride back to the palace and get one of his finest suits for the Prince of Carabas. The miller's son put on the royal suit and was very happy. When the miller's son and the princess met, they liked each other straight away. The son thanked the king for saving him and for the fine suit. Then he invited the king and the princess to dine with him. They agreed and asked him to ride in the carriage with them. Puss knew that the miller's son did not have a castle or a kingdom. Puss had to do something fast. So he quickly ran off to a kingdom that belonged to an evil ogre. The ogre had magical powers and could transform into any animal he wanted. While running through the fields, Puss warned the farmers.
If the king asks who owns these lands, you must tell him that they belong to the Prince of Carabas. Otherwise, you will be punished.
The farmers were afraid, so they did what Puss told them to do. When the king's carriage passed through the fields, the king asked them.
To whom do these fields belong?
The farmers replied,
To the Prince of Carabas!
Puss ran quickly to the castle of the ogre.
Ha ha ha! Puss in Boots in my kingdom? What are you doing here?
Your Mightiness, I'm the servant of the Prince of Carabas. I heard about your amazing magical powers and couldn't pass by without seeing them.
What do you want me to show?
Can you transform into a lion?
And in a flash, the ogre turned himself into a lion.
That was amazing. Can you become a tiny mouse?
Oh, that is also very easy for me.
And so the giant turned himself into a mouse. And the clever Puss quickly caught him and gobbled him up.
Ah, that was a heavy meal.
Just then, the king's carriage stopped in front of the ogre's castle. Puss told them that the castle belonged to the Prince of Carabas. The miller's son was happy because he had now become a real prince. They went inside and had a great feast together. The princess liked the prince so much that she asked her father if she could marry him. The prince married the princess, and they lived happily ever after. And Puss enjoyed a royal life in the castle too. The end.